Hello there. We're going to try something that's a little bit new. It's an idea that I've been toying around with. It's basically giving my own take, the same way that Disney and Hollywood has been doing on classic tales. So, this is what we're going to do today. This is the Little Golden Book of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I'm just going to be reading it to you. There will be images on the screen. And basically, this is a bedtime story. Well, that's at least how I'm going to do it. So, let's get into it. Long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a lovely young princess named Snow White. Her stepmother, the queen, was cruel and vain. She hated anyone whose beauty rivaled her own, and she watched her stepdaughter with angry and jealous eyes. She just couldn't handle the menopause. Is literally what it was, young one. The queen had magic powers and owned a wondrous mirror that spoke every day. What did it speak of? Just telling it his thoughts? Or was it explaining bowel movements? Every day she stood before it and asked, Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And every day the mirror answered, You are the fairest of all, O queen, the fairest our eyes have seen. Has the mirror ever seen Snow White? This is a question that you should ask young they, them, young little boy, young little girl. You should always ask question because context matters. You'll learn that whenever you grow up, little bitty. And as time passed, Snow White grew more and more beautiful, and the queen grew more and more envious. She also started to have some night sweats. You'll learn about that, little one, whenever you're about 45 years old. So she forced the princess to dress in rags and work from dawn to dusk. We will not be watching that zombie movie later. But dressing in rags, that's almost like she's living in Portland. I don't really see anything wrong with that as long as she's clothed. You should always stay clothed, little girl. Despite all the hard work, Snow White stayed sweet, gentle, and cheerful. Because, of course, day after day, she washed and swept and scrubbed, doing the womanly duties. She was basically in training to be a wife, as God intended. And day after day, she dreamed of a handsome prince who would come and carry her off to his castle, as most young girls do. At least they used to. The workplace is not necessarily for you. You see this, little Annabelle? It's okay to put your trust in a man. There's a difference in our biology. And it's okay that we're different. We're different for a reason. This is the way that we were made. A man can sweep you off your feet, and then you can sweep the floor that he walked across as he swept you away. It is the nature of things. One day, though, when the queen spoke to her mirror, it replied with the news that she'd been dreading. There was now someone even more beautiful than the queen, and that person was Snow White. And she's so upset. She's so jealous. She's such a mean girl about it. Don't worry, we'll watch that whenever you're 6. The queen sent for her huntsman. Take Snow White deep into the forest, she said, and there, my faithful huntsman, you will kill her. The huntsman, begged the queen to have mercy, but she would not be persuaded, and he couldn't really say no to her. She was ruler of the land. Silence, she warned. You know the penalty if you fail. Was it muff diving on that old crotch? We don't know. Hopefully, we never know. The next day, Snow White, never suspecting that she was in danger because she hasn't done anything wrong. She was minding her business. She just happened to be attractive, sweet, gentle, all of the great characteristics that you are. So rest easy, little one. When they were deep in the woods, the huntsman had tracked her. He cornered her and drew his knife. Then suddenly he fell to his knees. Don't worry, he wasn't worshiping her. I can't do it, he sobbed. Forgive me. He told her it was the queen who had ordered this wicked deed. He didn't have. See, good people can be asked to do things, but you can always take a stance for what's right. The queen, gasped Snow White. She's jealous of you. She'll stop at nothing. Quick, run away and don't come back. I'll lie to her. Now go, run, hide. And now we go into basically it's okay to lie sometimes if you're sparing the greater good. It's a very wibbly wobbly case that you have to do with that. The best advice is not to lie, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. Or, as I like to say, and I will teach you semantics, young one, don't lie, omit certain truths. Now, frightened, Snow White fled through the woods. Branches tore at her clothes. You know those stickers out there when we're running around in the creek? Sharp twigs scratched her arms and legs. Strange eyes stared from the shadows. Danger lurked everywhere. She kept going, though. She was scared. She was scared for her life. She didn't know where she was going. And at long last, she fell wearily to the ground. And all the emotions just had to come out. We've all been there before. We all know what this is like. She began to weep. And the animals of the forest gathered around, and they all tried to comfort her because she was so sweet. It's almost like she was putting out an aura that you could trust me. I don't have an ounce of harm in my body. And that's how you should come across to people. That's not how your daddy comes across to people, but everyone's scared that I'm a serial killer. But they gathered around her, chirping and chattering. They led her to a tiny cottage where she thought she was lost, but here's a home. Here's a roof over your head. Look at that. Oh, said Snow White. It's adorable, just like a doll's house. So she went inside, breaking and entering, not bacon and eggs. B&E, breaking and entering. That's actually something you shouldn't do, little one. But you know what? That's what I like to think that she knocked first and announced herself. We're just going to stick with that part of the story. But inside, when she got in there, the little tables and chairs were covered with dust, and the sink was filled with dirty dishes. There hasn't been a woman around. Oh my, she said. Perhaps the children who live here are orphans and need someone to take care of them. Maybe they'll let me stay and keep house for them. And this is why Snow White was so beloved, because she knew the natural order of things. The animals helped him as well, because man has dominion over the animals. You ever read Genesis? We'll get to that whenever you can tolerate the King James Version. The animals pitched in, yeah, that everyone helping everyone. And soon the place was neat and tidy, and you weren't tripping over anything, and the beds were made, and your room was clean. And how many times do I have to tell you that you need to clean your room, little one? But meanwhile, while this was happening, and she was doing work, yes, she did stumble into a place where she couldn't be, but she was helping out. The 7 dwarves who lived in the cottage were heading home from the mine where they worked, full of black lung and full of testosterone. A real man. The dwarves were amazed to find their house so clean. They were even more amazed when they went upstairs and saw this beautiful giant, Snow White. Dwarfs are small. We like to call them midgets, but it's actually not. It's a different kind of person, and they are mythical beings, which means they don't exist. It's a girl, said Doc. She's beautiful, said Bashful. Oh, said Grumpy. She's gonna be trouble, mark my words. Snow White was asleep like Goldilocks before she got eaten by the bears. She woke with a start and saw the dwarves gathered around her. Why, you're not children, you're little men. I read your names on the beds. Let me guess who you are. Racial profiling. Okay, I got loud on that part, but you're Doc and you're Bashful, you're sleepy, you're sneezy, you're happy and dopey, and you must be grumpy. Because he definitely saw that her arms were crossed like a sokatana. And it made sense. Because Dopey was a fucking retard. He couldn't even speak. And by dictionary definitions, that literally means that you're dumb. When Snow White told the dwarves about the queen's plan to kill her, they decided that she should stay with them. Because I'm not even going to say that. We're asking for trouble, huffed Grumpy. But we can't let her get caught by that wicked queen, said Doc. The others agreed. He had a lisp because he sucked a lot of dick. They were all 7 dudes living in a house and had basically never seen a girl before. Yeah, don't ever do that. Unless you want to. But you'll be kicked out of my house. That night after supper, they all sang and danced and made merry music. Bashful played the concertina, Happy tapped the drum, Sleepy tooted his horn, his front horn, and his back horn. Grumpy played the organ. Which organ was he playing? Good gracious. This is a little bit racy. And Dopey wiggled his ears because that's all he could do, the fucking idiot. Snow White loved her new friends and she felt safe at last because they didn't know what to do with a woman. It was a scary prospect. And that's totally fine. That's how you should treat your mother. As a scary prospect who's very loving and nurturing to you. Meanwhile, the queen had learned from her mirror that Snow White was still alive because of that crow. But with a magic spell, she turned herself into an old beggar woman. She was just asking alms for the poor. She had a giant wart on her nose. She looked ugly. So even if she had asked the mirror looking like that, well, obviously she'd be at the bottom of the totem pole. She filled a basket with apples and put a poisoned one on top. Arsenic? Ricin? Need we go on? How quickly do you want this to last? One bite, she cackled. And Snow White will sleep forever. Then I'll be the fairest in the land. She didn't realize it doesn't work that way. And that's all she cared about. She cared about her OnlyFans content more than she cared about the people that she was over and in charge of, her kingdom. It was all vanity. The next morning, before they left for the mine, the dwarfs warned Snow White to be on her guard. Don't let nobody or nothing in the house, said Grumpy. Pretty sure Grumpy used racial slurs. Oh, Grumpy, you do care. I'll be careful, I promise. She reached over and she kissed him and the others goodbye, and the dwarfs went cheerfully off to work. And Grumpy became bashful. Ooh. He had never known a woman's touch. He didn't know what pillowy lips on your forehead or other kind of heads feels like. A few minutes later, though, the queen came to the kitchen window. How did she find the cottage? Anyway, she fast traveled to the kitchen window. Making pies, dearish? Yes. It's apple pies the men love. Here, taste one of these. And she held the poisoned apple out to Snow White. I'm pretty sure that men like apple bottom jeans, not apple pussy. Oh, yeah. Apple no spots. Snow White remembered the dwarf's warning. Don't let anyone in here. But the woman looked harmless and the apple looked delicious. So she bit the apple straight out of her hand. Then, with a sigh, she fell to the floor because it was poison. And there was nothing she could do. She didn't just fall asleep like you're falling asleep right now. No. She fell unconscious. She dropped straight like a sack. She dropped like she was trying to fight Kimbo Slice in his heyday before he dropped like a sack. Told by the birds and animals that something was wrong. The dwarves raced back to the cottage. They saw the queen sneaking off, and they ran after her. As storm clouds gathered and rain began to fall, the dwarves chased the queen to the top of a high rocky mountain. Crack! There was a flash of lightning, and even queen fell to her doom below. But not before her ankles had been chopped severely. Because you remember that those dwarves were miners. They had pickaxes and hammers and sledgehammers and all kinds of stuff. They went to town on her. The reason why she fell wasn't from the lightning. That was just dramatic effect. They had literally hacked her Achilles heel in twain. And in twain, don't worry, you'll learn about Mark Twain. But yes, the queen fell off the cliff, was pummeled, and died. As bitches should. But it was too late for Snow White because that poison had done its work. She was so beautiful. Even in death, her lips still rosy. And this is back before they had makeup. That the dwarves couldn't even bear to part with her. They had finally found a friend. They had finally smelled fish. And it was gone. They built her a coffin of glass and gold that they had mined from the mountains. And day and night, they kept watch over her like a vigil, you know, when your papa passed away. You remember that. It's the same thing they did. They just hung around, made sure no one came to steal her. But one day, while they were doing this, a handsome prince came riding through the forest. And as soon as he saw her, he fell in love with her. Kneeling by her coffin, he kissed her. Yeah, don't let a guy do this to you. And if you're a dude, which I don't know, by age 2, I'll let you decide, I guess, little one. Yeah, don't do this to people. The thing is, though, she's just a one and done. I guess something else told her, and this is why we love fairy tales, is that there's a little bit of magic. She wasn't just a pump and dump. There was an aura that surrounded her because she was so good, because she was so beautiful. And it wasn't truly a death. It was a sleeping death. It just had to come from true love's kiss. But do not take this as true love. Nigga was horny. But when he did do it, Snow White sat up, blinked, and smiled. And addendum, she also gave consent. The prince's kiss had broken the evil spell, and she was so excited, and the dwarves were happy. They danced with joy. The prince carried Snow White off to his castle, where they lived happily after, and had 14 kids. And by the age of 23, Snow White was no longer recognizable. She had varicose veins. She was about 400 pounds. She never lost the baby weight because the prince kept pumping them into her. So basically, all she could do was take care of the kids and work on her kegels because if he kept going back that many times, that snatch was tight. Just like your mama's. But they lived happily ever after, and only half of those kids died from the rot, the potato blight. Good night, sweetheart.